If you're a Don Bluth fan and you're wondering why no one on the internet ever talks about Anastasia, fret not! I've got your back today as we go over how the animated movie compares to the real life of Anastasia Romanov. Hey family members, I'm McGann and you're watching The Fangirl, where I actively ruin childhood memories, and today is no exception. I have delayed making this video for years because I was obsessed with the animated Anastasia movie. I even named my Siamese-ish cat Anastasia. Well, informally we called her Anya, but that was an acronym that stood for Anastasia, Nostalgia, Yasmin, Anaconda. Yep, that face you're making right now is how everybody at school looked at me too. But I have such positive memories of this movie and the music, and I want to see the stage play so bad. However, while this technically new Disney princess was just so charming to watch, I started finding out the truth of Anastasia and the Romanov clan. Now, I used to be a major in history before I switched over to film studies, but I am by no means an expert in 20th century Russia. Most of this information is from a slew of documentaries I've watched over the decades. Point blank, even though this enchanting tale of a princess with amnesia is based on a real person, there's exactly 0% chance that Anastasia survived. Anastasia's father, Tsar Nicholas II, was a pretty unpopular ruler. He never quite figured out how to get on his people's good side, and he and his family were actually so out of touch with the nation that they never saw a revolution coming. Now, by many accounts, Nicholas was madly in love with his wife Alexandra, and with his kids in a healthy, appropriate father-children relationship. However, their only son and heir, Alexei, had hemophilia so badly that even the most mild scratch could put him at risk for bleeding to death. So, as most parents would be, the Romanovs were super protective and concerned and very focused on trying to keep their child alive. But they also had to keep a lot of Alexei's condition a secret. I imagine that was due to one part fear of assassination attempts and one part worry that it would make them look like a really weak dynasty. But the only comfort the royal couple could find was in a man named Rasputin, and he was a holy man, but also a pretty sinister kind of guy. And Rasputin ended up having a lot of power over Alexandra in particular, and there was a lot of rumor as to them having an affair. Rasputin's level of influence became so worrisome that a group of concerned people got together and decided to kill Rasputin. And they did finally kill him after like a dozen attempts that night. They poisoned him and Rasputin was fine. They shot him and he kept going, but those guys were committed, so they kept trying until they ended him. Or so we think. I hope they didn't bury him alive. So now we have the Empress without Rasputin, who she believed was the only person capable of keeping her son alive, and the royal family had gotten so closed off and out of touch with the public that they really didn't take a revolution seriously. Oh, it's just a little rebellion, we'll squash it, it'll be fine, these happen all the time. But it wasn't like that. Even after Tsar Nicholas II was dethroned, he didn't seem to take the matter very seriously. There were opportunities for the now former Tsar to send his children away to relatives in other nations, but he refused, saying he wanted to keep his family together, which kind of implies he never really got that there was a real threat to them. And for a while, there wasn't. The royal family got moved from the palace to a little house in Nowheresburg, and about the time that Nicholas was realizing, oh, I don't think they're playing, they might really execute us, Nicholas got a letter suggesting that there was help coming to smuggle the Romanovs out of Russia. So when the family thought that help had arrived in the middle of the night, they got dressed, and because they had advance notice, the ladies had sewn jewels into their corsets. That way they'd have something valuable concealed that they could use to bribe people or buy food or do whatever they needed to get out of Russia. However, instead of getting into some discreet carriage like they expected, the Romanovs were all marched downstairs to the basement where they proceeded to be shot to death. And remember those jewels I just talked about? Well, those don't break very easily, so those corsets were like bulletproof jackets, which sounds great if they were outside and could run away. Unfortunately, being trapped in a basement, that just means they were shot repeatedly until they died, so they had to suffer more. So yeah, Anastasia died that day with everyone else in her family, and they dumped their bodies in unmarked graves. Actually, I don't even know if you could call them graves. They basically found a spot in the woods and threw them there with some dirt on top. But there's a little bit more to this story. Even though the Romanovs hadn't been popular and they got overthrown, it was still basic public opinion that it was wrong to murder children. And there was this fear that if people knew that the entire Romanov clan had been murdered, that people would go, "You killed the little kids too?" And that outrage would turn them against the new government. It could even spark enough rage internationally that the extended relatives of the Romanovs might raise armies and come marching in to avenge the cold-blooded murders. So, instead of being direct about what they had done, the new governing body, which I believe was the Communist Party, they just sort of shrugged and said, "Well, we got the Tsar, we're not really sure about anybody else. Maybe they escaped?" The new Russian government wanted the public to be shrouded in mystery about what happened to the Romanov kids. So they actively supported rumors that maybe one daughter escaped, and maybe it was the Grand Duchess Anastasia. Who can say for sure? Which means when they make a movie like Anastasia, it's actually a family movie based on Russian propaganda so that the government could cover their own butts after they decimated children. Doesn't that just ruin it? Although it does make it interesting in the movie because there's not one person from the government trying to hunt down and execute Anastasia. Because seriously, if she was well liked, she could rise up and start another revolution to reclaim her birthright. But other than a few travel issues, the government has nothing to do with this movie. Really could have been a huge part, even bigger than Rasputin though, if they wanted it to. But we could also theorize that the government wasn't chasing animated Anastasia because they already knew her fate. And what's even more bizarre is that the government's feigned ignorance actually caused people to step up and claim to be Anastasia. One such person was Anna Anderson, who went to great lengths to convince people she was the real Anastasia. And she did convince quite a few people, only to be proven 100% a liar when Anastasia's real remains were discovered in 1991. Wouldn't that have made for an interesting end to the animated movie? Oh, Grand Duchess, now that you found your family and you're so happy, turns out we found your body in the woods, so we're gonna need that tiara back. But ultimately, Don Bluth's Anastasia is based on misleading information from the Russian government. The real Anastasia tragically didn't survive and get this wonderful happily ever after. So in a lot of ways, this movie is the best she'll ever get. I don't even want to close out this video, it's too sad. Move on to the derps. Hey guys, derp time. If you haven't stuck around this long in a video before, you're new here. After the subject of the video is over, I hang out with people a little bit. I think I gotta sing. I think I gotta sing some Anastasia today. And I have from here, from copyright 1997 Galoob Toys, and I've had it since 1997, the Her Imperial Highness Anastasia minifigure. I had all the action figures, I had the Barbie-sized dolls, I love this movie so much. I had so many things from it. And you can tell it's all dirty and scuffed up because I just found it buried in my mother's basement. So, haha. All right, what song? Heart, don't fail me now. Courage, don't desert me. Don't turn back now that we're here. People always say life is full of choices. No one ever mentions fear. I feel like I don't feel good. Like I don't feel good. I don't feel like I'm hitting those notes right, so I'm gonna stop. Maybe I should have gone with the "Have you heard there's a rumor in St. Petersburg? Have you heard what they're saying on the street? Although the Tsar did not survive, one daughter may be still alive. Doo-doo-doo. The Princess Anastasia. But please do not repeat." Yeah, in hindsight, that song would have been a lot more appropriate, but I was actually supposed to leave my house like 10 minutes ago to meet my mother, so I'm gonna have to lie and say I was in traffic anyway, so I kinda gotta go. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I even named my Siamesish cat. Yep, that face you're making right now is how everyone at school looked at me too. Gonna throw my phone out the chimney. Shut up. Point blank, even after Tsar Nicholas II was dethroned, he still didn't seem to take the situation. Even after Tsar Nicholas II was dethroned. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.